Mic check. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. I'm back for another episode. Let me get right into introducing the show. It's a Taste to Consider podcast. I'm your host, Dirk Silver, and I'm back for another episode. Yes, I know it's been a minute. Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I'm still trying to get myself back in that mode of just I'm having a struggle, a issue with getting from. It's not that I don't want to record or I'm still into my podcast, because I am, because I'm always coming up with show ideas and doing little small little outlines and saving clips and stuff like that. But it's just something from me actually coming up with shows, putting shows together, to actually sitting down and hitting the record button. And I'm still struggling with that. And I kind of have an idea of what it is. It's not because the desire is not there. It's something internally that I'm struggling with, due to how long I've been podding, and just where the ups and downs of the podcast, the ups and downs of my work ethic, and opportunities that I missed out on because of me. Yeah, so it's just like I'm still trying to work that out for some reason, because this particular show I've had sitting for a minute. And honestly, what I'm going to talk about today, I kind of had some hesitation as well because of the actual topic, and me being in a situation before where I've had this discussion to a smaller degree and it went left because people took it the wrong way and stuff like that, which I shouldn't have. Not to say I shouldn't care, but you can't please everybody, and people always, I ain't gonna say always, some people may jump to conclusions and just not really engage in a conversation first before they get in their feelings and stuff like that. So, but this particular topic discussion has been on my mind for a minute, and it's about friendships. And I was just sitting around a while ago, and I was just asking myself, am I a good friend? And just thinking about being a good friend, period. Everybody wants to think they're a good friend, or a good girlfriend, boyfriend, and a good husband, good wife, all that other stuff. But just thinking about being a good friend really is subjective and specific to whoever you're dealing with in that moment, in that relationship, that friendship, or whatever. And I had to, really just sit back and think, am I a good friend? And what I came up with was, I can be a good friend. I can be a good friend because I have the capacity for it, and I'm capable of being a good friend. But have I been a good friend to every person that I've called my friend or has called me a friend? Probably not, no. Because like I said, me getting older and getting wiser, I understand now that being a good friend is subjective, and it's specific to the person that you're actually dealing with in that moment, or who you're talking about. And honestly, it sometimes it's really not up to you to determine that. It's up to the person who actually you're actually dealing with in that moment, that can say that Dirk has been a good friend to me, or Dirk was a good friend to me. But it just had me thinking about, my role in friendships. And I just been doing a lot of contemplating lately um, a couple of months before the new year and around now with the new year. And I know that's something that a lot of people do around those times. You know, what are you going to do different for the new year, and what things you want to change, and what you don't want to deal with no more, and stuff like that. And I can honestly say that the amount of growth that I've had over the years by being in therapy and doing my own work and stuff, that has come from therapy, or just the things that I've been self aware of myself that I wanted to work on, um, that I'm I've grown and I've evolved in a different space where the relationships in my life, all my relationships in my life, whatever relationship you want to consider, I want to be different. I don't want to continue doing the same things that I've been doing, or the same experiencing the same things that I have been experiencing in my relationships. And being as though this topic is about friendships, that is something that's been on my mind for years, honestly, because I've come to, look back and assess myself in friendships and how I've been treated in friendships, and allow myself to continue to go through the same things in friendships, whether they be with one particular person over and over again, or different people, but still experiencing the same things. So what that's saying to me is that a lot of the responsibility is on me, because I keep experiencing the same things over and over again with one person and multiple people. So I've come to understand, even with my growth and evolution, that I need and want different things out of my friendships and all my relationships. But just, from the friendship standpoint, and the element of being a man plays a big role in that as well, because men friendships have are different than women friendships, and just with me growing and evolving as a person and being more aware of my emotions, my mental health and stuff like that, I I'm not, and I don't want to tolerate the same things or experience the same things that I have been experiencing. I'm more open to myself. So with that openness, I need, well, let me back up a little bit. With me wanting to be more open with the world and with the people in my life, I need different experiences now in order to share that openness and to be more comfortable sharing more of myself that is not normally acceptable by being a man in a friendship. More of my having different type of conversations, not just a situation where it's always just hanging out to watch sports or to drink, or just the more surface level type stuff. And I'm not saying I need more depth in my relationships, in my friendships, but it doesn't have to be that deep. It don't have to be a situation where, whether it's my current friends, former friends, or new ones that will come about in my life, it don't need to be that deep. You know what I'm saying? But it has to have depth to it. It can't just be just surface level stuff, watching sports, coming together to hang out to drink, or just surface level stuff. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It needs to be more of a situation where I can feel comfortable asking my friend, how you feeling? And actually getting a real answer, not, just the normal stuff that we all do. I'm cool, I'm good, Depth doesn't have to be, we sitting around talking about first thing popped in my head from Boys in the Hood, the sun, moon, stars, and quasars. We ain't got to be doing that. It just got to be more, more intentional conversations, and not just us hiding from each other. We already hide enough from everybody else. We already hide enough from ourselves, and we can't even be open with people that we call our friends, especially when it comes to us guys, where we always be talking about this my brother, this my bro, all that other stuff. But we not even doing that. You know what I'm saying? There's really no depth to the relationship to really sit there and be like, oh yeah, that's my bro, that's my dog, and all this other stuff, So I got, some clips that I came across before I decided to record the show, and even after I was kept procrastinating with recording stuff, certain clips kept popping up that was part of the discussion. So when I see things like that, I look at it like, well, the timing wasn't right, and whatever these clips provide for the discussion, the show, they were needed. So I'm gonna go through and see what clips I got. Hopefully I can get through all of them. I don't want to be recording as long as I used to, unless I got a guest or some people come through and record with me. But let me get a sip real quick, and I'm gonna find some clips to have this discussion. Shout out to all the new subscribers on YouTube. Even in the midst of me not recording, I was getting new subscribers and comments and stuff on old shows and stuff like that. Shout out to the followers. If you want to support me, the easiest way to support me is to like, share, subscribe, download, all that good stuff. So let me look for these clips now. All right. All right, let me see. I took the screenshots of the clips I wanted to use. Now I just have to find the clips. I'm still rusty. But we gonna make it happen. Here we go. Here go the first clip right here. This is a good one right here. Let me see. See. All right, here we go. All right. Let me pull this up. It's coming from Instagram. I played clips of him before. Care Gains. He's a therapist on content creator on social media. Here you go. Right.
You need intimacy with other men. You need closeness. You need intimacy with other men. Intimacy is not about being sexual. Intimacy is about being close. I call the bros, I go to breakfast. I'm in several group chats making sure that I stay connected to different dudes. Because I grew up in Southeast, I grew up on 37th Street. If you ever been, if you haven't been, don't go. Real talk, it's not safe. But there's no intimacy between those dudes. There's not. So I didn't really see that, and it wasn't until I became older where I realized that our intimacy, our fathers never felt that, but it's incumbent on us. Like the torch got passed and we didn't even know it. Right. And it's incumbent on us to start instituting a culture of intimacy among men. And when you hear them say men don't have intimacy amongst one another, that's not true. It just looks different than it does for women. It's not as outward, it's not as obvious, it's the long dap, it's the hug, what's up, bro? It could be something simple as, hey, bro, get home safe. That's a form of intimacy. So I do challenge us in a room to not just adopt this idea or this framing that men don't have intimacy amongst each other, but to develop a culture understanding what it looks like for you, and not to consider it insignificant because it isn't as obvious.
Now that's a good point, and that I this is my first time actually listening to the whole clip. So he definitely makes a good point, and something that I need to consider myself, that the intimacy between guys and their friendship doesn't have to look like what women do, and it doesn't have to look so obvious. So that's kind of making me look back at certain situations that it has been times where the fellas we've hung out or whatever, and we all have said to each other, let us know you home safe on a group chat and all that other stuff. And there's been plenty of times with the long daps and hugs and stuff like that. So yeah, it don't have to look like anything that's so obvious, but I do agree with him from the beginning of the clip that men, we need that closeness as well. We need that intimacy. And like he said, it ain't got to be sexual. It ain't that deep. People got to understand, like I say on here all the time, excuse me, burp number one, people just don't understand words. And words get misconstrued all the time, and people shy away from them. And this brings up a point that I've been thinking about for a while. I've been watching a lot of Jason Wilson's YouTube videos. He's a author he's on Instagram and he's on YouTube, Jason Wilson. I mentioned one of his books before that I recently read last year on the show. It was called Cry Like a Man. And he brought up something that I never even considered until I heard him say it. He was talking about the word vulnerability or vulnerable, and how a lot of times when dudes hear that word, they run from it, or they look at it like it's weak or soft. And I never considered that, for the simple fact of, when I first started therapy, I was 30 years old. So I was so open to going to therapy and working on my mental health that hearing the word vulnerable at that time didn't mean anything to me, because I was so open to working on my mental health and learning more about my emotions and stuff like that. But for a dude that's not in that same space, for me, when I was in my 20s, hearing the word vulnerable, I would have looked at it like, yeah, that's weak. That's soft. And he was saying that, when he speaks to young men and grown men and stuff like that, he comes from the direction of, and using the words of, being open and transparent, not vulnerable, because most men who aren't in a place of, being vulnerable or being open to, let themselves be free or safe, they'll run away from the word vulnerable or vulnerability, because to a man that looks like weakness or soft, being soft. But one of the things that, I ain't gonna lie, a lot of the things that I've experienced in my friendships with men, not all, but a lot, got me to the point where I've become very guarded, jaded. I have difficulty even trusting friendships with men because of situations that I've been in. And I know that that has hindered me in a lot of ways. Granted, I like I said, the experience that I've had, I've got a reason to feel that way. I've told certain stories on the podcast before about situations that I've been in with male friends, backstabbing me, trying to trick me, um, being envious of me, backhanded comments, passive aggressiveness, stuff like that. And majority of the time I let it pass because of where I was mentally and emotionally at that time in my life. Um, because I didn't have a close relationship with my dad. I didn't have a close relationship with my brother. Um, excuse me, burp number two. I'm more closer to my dad today. Um, but me and my brother's relationship is still pretty much the same. So I've always been kind of seeking that male bonding and brotherhood and friendship, that community with guys. But I've also been so isolated that it's hard for me to open up in these friendships. I know a lot of times me being guarded and stuff like that and hesitant probably ain't no probably. I know it comes off. I know it comes off not even just with friendships. It comes off in all my relationships. That guardedness, that defensiveness and stuff like that, it comes off. And like I show it very well. And a lot of times it's intentional. um I don't choose to be a loner. You know, that's that's just the way that I've become, after a lot of the situations that I've been in, and there's not too many people that I trust. Honestly, there's not. And that's across the board in all my relationships because of stuff that I've experienced from childhood, the rejections, the abandonment, and stuff like that. So it's always been safe for me to be alone or to be guarded or to be hesitant. And part of that, I put myself in relationships so I continue to stay in relationships that perpetuate that keep me in that mode of chasing for intimacy, affection, love, etc., etc. And I'm just talking about all relationships across the board: acknowledgement, acceptance, belonging. Um, yeah. So let me jump to another clip and see what it's talking about. All right, let me see. I just saw the next clip. All right, here we go right here. This is another one that I came across that I thought was interesting, and let me pull it up.
True test of a romantic partnership or even a marriage is the ability to go months, maybe even years without speaking to each other and picking right back up where you left off and everything be sweet. Now, if I actually said that and meant it, you'd be looking at me screw face, right? Because it's not sustainable. That relationship would die out inevitably. However, when it comes to friendship, there is this agenda that keeps trying to be forced or pushed as the quality or true standard of what it means to have genuine friendship. And it is not working, okay? Because actually it's coded for laziness, dysfunction, disregard, and truly disrespect. At first it was, we don't have to talk all the time to be friends. Then it became, I shouldn't have to support you for you to still know that I'm cool with you. Then it became, well, if I don't want to show up somewhere, you should be cool with that. You should just understand I don't have the capacity. In different ways, people are trying to push or appropriate this idea of not taking care of people that they probably want to be taken care of by, okay? I saw this video recently where somebody was saying, I can only be friends with people who are cool canceling last minute. right? Those are the kinds of friends I want to have, right? If you can't deal with that, then we can't be cool. And it's almost trying to shame other people out of recognizing how rude and inconsiderate that is. And then I saw somebody in the comment section say, well, where can I find friends like you? Overlooking that they are with themselves 24/7. You are the kind of friend you're looking for. You are the kind of friend you actually deserve. See, a lot of times people try to use this idea of like, well, we have busy lives. We're married, we have kids, we have jobs. But when you're getting married, you're expecting people to show up, take time out of their work, and also pay to attend that wedding. When you have kids, you're expecting people to give you gifts or attend that baby shower. When you have things going on in your personal life, you're expecting support and care. But when it comes time to reciprocate, we're not always willing to do that. And some people may say, well, yeah, leave kids out of it. Yes, leave kids out of it. Stop using them as a human shield to deflect from your adult responsibility for your negligence in your relationships. They're not to blame. And like somebody said, a lot of times when people say that they're looking for friendship, they mean that they're looking for support, not reciprocity. And it shows. Friendship is an endurance sport, and not everybody is fit for it. And as you mature, you will understand the difference between somebody saying, well, yeah, there are different levels of friendship, and the actuality is there are different levels of relationship, and friendship is one of them, and not everybody qualifies. As you mature, you'll realize there are some people who see friendship as truth, and other people who see it as a tool. There are people who are willing to treat their friends properly, and other people who are treating themselves to somebody else's friendship.
Yeah, that was on point, and I totally agree. I found myself always being the person to reach out first, always being the one that was the most supportive. It never made sense to me, and like I would hate saying it out loud when I would have private conversations with someone about it, or even just thinking it myself. But I'm gonna say it out loud for real now. It doesn't make it doesn't make sense that I have people who say they're my friend or my bro and all this other stuff, or people even outside of friendships, just relationships, friendships that don't support my podcast. It never made sense to me. It never made sense to me. And I used to try to talk it back and make excuses for them, kind of like what he was talking about in the clip. Like I would see people support people they don't know, support celebrities and stuff like that, but won't even share my podcast. And it's not even like I'm asking you to listen to it, because I know everybody is not going to be into my podcast, but just a simple share, anything like that. And I would be, it just confused the hell out. It still confuses me to this day that you can call yourself my friend, but you're not supporting me in any type of way. So that will only make me think, because of my experiences with friends, that you got an issue with me somehow, some way. You got an issue with me, or you got an issue with yourself that you're projecting onto me. But the key thing that he was talking about in that clip, and what I always look at with friendships, is reciprocation. And that's not something that I have experienced on a consistent basis. And when I say consistent, I don't mean all the time, but there has to be some consistency to it. I think that's one of the things that I've come to pay more attention to. You know, you always hear people talk about some words don't matter, actions do. I think words matter just as much as actions matter. But the more and more that I've been reviewing my relationships, my friendships, stuff like that in the past, present, and what I want in the future, consistency is just as on that line with the words, the actions. You got words, actions, and consistency for me. because that consistency is the key point of what you can really base your relationships off of. But I don't feel like a lot of the friendships that I've had have been reciprocal. I don't. As well as relationships, I always got to be the first to do everything. I feel as though that I'm always the one that have to do the proving. I always the one that have to do the providing. I'm the one that always have to do the work. I'm the one that always has to be the one to keep the relationship going. Being assertive with keeping that relationship going. Sometimes to the point where it becomes aggression with it being more so out of fear of losing the relationship or people pleasing to keep the relationship going. And I know that's not me, because it's not coming from a peaceful place internally. It's coming from a fearful place. And that goes back to what I've experienced from a child, as a young man or whatever, that rejection, that abandonment or whatever. So I find myself now being in these situations, but talking myself through them and not being pressed to keep the relationship going or waiting to see what the other people do. Because when it comes down to it, if my relationship with them is important, or if their relationship with me is important, if I'm important to them, then they should be putting in the same effort as I am. And I've come to finally realize that and accept that, and I've been working on that. But it's like what he was talking about in the clip, everybody got an excuse, and they don't realize that relationships take work. So if the person don't want to put in any type of work or effort, and maybe the problem is when we was talking about words and what they mean to people, maybe work is too strong for some people. Maybe effort is too strong for some people. Maybe they can't wrap their minds around these words and what it means with being in a friendship or any type of relationship, because that's not even what they're able or they have the capacity to do for themselves. They don't have the capacity to give effort for themselves, their family, God. So why would they have the capacity to give effort or work to something that they see is less important outside of God, family, and themselves? So just me talking about that now makes more sense. Some people just don't have the capacity to give effort or to do work because they don't even do it for themselves. They don't do it for God. They don't do it for their family. So I can't expect them to do it for a friendship. So that's making even more sense now. But at the same time, like I said, with me growing and evolving and just getting tired and drained of experiencing the same things in my relationships, I need and I want different. And it's not even, could I say more? Yes. But I think different will probably be more appropriate, because it's not like, because I feel like maybe I'm about to make a defense right now, but I feel like more is probably saying that what they have given or what they do give, well, I mean, if it's not good enough, it's not good enough. But maybe I don't know. It's almost I'm trying to rationalize it based off of, like saying that I'm going to therapy because I need to fix myself. I don't need to fix myself because I'm not broken. So yeah, that's the rationale. I'm trying to parallel these things, but maybe they aren't parallel. But Yeah. So like I said, I'm not trying to. I will never put it all on the other side, the other people, because I know it's not that. I know I definitely am very guarded. I'm definitely very I can come off very uh um I forgot the other words that I used earlier, but I can definitely come off very guarded and standoffish and stuff like that, nonchalant, and some of those words and how it comes off is a defense mechanism. But also, I mean, it just is what it is. I can be very quiet and reserved at times, and people would take that as personal. Whether they look at it like I think I'm better than them or what, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I some I got stories for days on some of the things that I've gone through with guys that I thought were my friends, or or yeah, they may have been my friends or are my friends, but we all human, so we have our moments. So I'll give it as that, because nobody's perfect. But it's just weird stuff, because I I go out my way not to be a certain way that makes people feel uncomfortable, or like I'm trying to be better than them and stuff. I go out my way to be a quote unquote good friend, but obviously it's not enough. So I should just go ahead and just be myself. And that's what I'm saying, like growing and evolving and just wanting to be, burp number 3, be more open and just fully be myself without caring. Cause and it's funny because my barber, he says this all the time. He's like, yeah, the older you get as a man, yeah, you just get softer. he was like, yeah, your testosterone just go down. You just get softer. You just become a little punk. And I feel like the older I've gotten, yeah, I've gotten softer in a good way, but I also have gotten softer in a bad way. That I've allowed a lot of stuff to go that I didn't do in my 20s. Like I will come at you. I will come at you when I was in my teens and my 20s. But it's like the older I've gotten, the softer I've become in those areas where I've let things slide that I shouldn't have, or I've stayed in friendships and relationships and stuff that I shouldn't have stayed in. But it's not a blame on them. It's on myself, because um I just got to the point where that fear of rejection and abandonment got so strong that I kept falling into these cycles and these circles of doing the same thing over and over again. But like that clip said, this is the last thing off that clip. We got to be more responsible in our friendships and our relationships and stuff. It can't be a situation where we're being caring or loving with our friend, telling them, hey, maybe you should slow down on drinking, or maybe you should slow down on this way of thinking, or maybe you should slow down on gambling too much and stuff like that, and then the friendship is just over. Like, I've had situations like that too, where I've came to a friend before and said, "Oh yeah, man, yeah, I think the way you've been acting lately has been coming off kind of crazy, and other people have been seeing it and coming to me and letting me know or whatever." And then now I'm the one that's hating, nigga. What the hell? So it just, man, I swear I can tell some stories about some weird crap that I've gone through with dudes that you would think, and this is coming from a straight masculine point of view. Man, this shit is like we some women and shit in a friendship, as opposed to us being men. Like the reactions and stuff that I'm getting and stuff like that. It's just crazy. Let me see. Let me see. Nah, I already did that clip. What my time looking like? All right, my time looking like. Let me see. All right. Let me see. I think I got some other stuff that I saved for this episode. Oh man, let me see. I gotta get back in my mode where I organize this stuff better. I already did that clip right there, so I had some other stuff. I had like some posts and stuff that I came across. It was talking about why men don't their friendships and why many men don't have close friendships. And it was, let me see, this is okay. Let me pull this joint up. All right. It was a post. All right. Let me see. Here you go, right here. It says, why so many men don't have close friends and why it matters for all of us. And this comes from Join the Movement page on Instagram. It says, if you ever notice how women roll to brunch or a block party with a squad, but men often show up solo or with just one homie, you're not imagining it. Research says more than 1 in 7 men don't have a single close friend. A lot of men were raised to believe vulnerability, there go that word, isn't manly. So friendships stay surface level. Damn. And I only read the headline when I saved this. So it's funny that all of this is coming together like this. So friendships stay surface level and emotions get bottled up. When men don't have healthy spaces to process life, that weight often spills into their relationships, leaving women to carry way more emotional labor than they should. That's why brotherhood matters. When men have real community, it lightens the emotional load at home and creates safer, healthier relationships for everyone. Yeah, that's true. And it's funny because I think I mentioned this before about I watched the show The Chi, and a couple of seasons ago, part of the show became all the guys on the show. They started linking up as a group and just having like a round table talk. And it almost was kind of like a AA meeting, but for black men to talk about the things that they're going through, their feelings, and, you know, give advice and stuff like that. And before they put that on the show, I had that idea in my mind. That I was like, I want to start a group where guys can come and you know, have like a circle together, kind of like an AAA meeting, and just, you know, talk to each other and bond and stuff like that, help each other get through situations and stuff like that. And that was one of the reasons why I was so excited about when I was volunteering down at Howard with the young college students at the time or whatever. And that's something that I wanted to do with, you know, my peers, men of my age, a little younger, you know, older and stuff like that. But it never really came to fruition. But it's still something that's on my mind. And it's funny because I've seen dudes that I know openly talk about that on social media, saying that they wish they had a group or whatever. And that should have been my sign from God right there to reach out to them and say, well, let's link or whatever. And I never did it. So maybe that's something I need to think about and see if I can remember exactly who it was that was saying that and try to get that going. But it's definitely important for us to have these more in-depth relationships and then not just be so surface level. And a lot of times with us as black men, we just shy away from it. We think we hiding. We just straight hiding. We hiding, and we look at it like we'll find any type of defense or excuse to hide from it. Whether it's, oh, that's weak or that's soft, or nobody trying to hang around and talk about no feelings and stuff like that. Or like that last clip that I played, it's an excuse. It's my kids, or it's my girl, or it's my wife, or I've been working all day, I'm tired, or whatever. And just not understanding that you running away from it, you hiding. And part of that being tired and being drained and stuff like that is because you holding everything inside. You know, we like to always say that we got the world on our shoulders, but it ain't even on our shoulders. It's deep inside of us. That pain, that struggle, that trauma, that tiredness, being drained, all that other stuff, that it ain't on our shoulders. It's inside of us. That's why it's rough. That's why it's so rough. That's why it's such a pain, because it's inside of us. But yeah, I mean, yeah. I think I'm gonna do a part 2 because I'm gonna do a part 2 of this because I'm coming up on the time that I want to kind of stick to right now. So I'm gonna do a part 2 of this. I'm gonna keep this a part 1 and try to get the rest of the stuff more organized and come back next week with it. So shout out to everybody who took the time to listen and to watch on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google. Yeah, appreciate you. Make sure, like I said, easy way to support me is to like, share, subscribe, download, whatever, wherever you listening to, watching, whatever. I appreciate you. Shout out to everybody who new subscribers, followers, all that good stuff. And I will be back next week. I promise you, I'll be back next week. I will. Yeah. But this has been a Taste to Consider podcast. I'm your host, Derek Silver, and I'm out.